I'm very happy to have you here as interviewee. Thanks very
Thank
much
you.
for the time. And well, maybe you could introduce yourself briefly and tell us a little about your professional background,
Mhm.
Professor Tuncer Can.
Okay. All right. First of all, I'm not a full professor yet, just an assistant professor. So
Okay.
when it comes to my background, I have a PhD in English language teaching, and I have been training teachers, pre-service teachers, for the past 15 years now. And I have always studied my undergrad, grad, and my PhD at Istanbul University, where I am teaching now. And I
Okay.
think I'm very privileged to be doing this job after being a student in this department.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. So you,
Yeah.
you don't teach students, you teach teachers, is that right?
Actually, I'm teaching students, but these are teachers to be, future English
Ah,
teachers.
okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
they're graduating from our department.
Mm-hmm.
And when they graduate from our department, they become English language teachers, and they're appointed by the Turkish government to various places in Turkey, to
Okay,
various
I see.
geographical areas. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, well, great. And the languages you teach, I mean, is English, as you said, right?
Exactly. What I teach at the University of Istanbul in the English language teaching department is linguistics,
Hmm.
language acquisition, lexicology, the
Okay.
etymology of English vocabulary,
Hmm.
drama class,
Okay.
and I'm also teaching effective communication to these teachers to pre-service English language teachers. And apart from that, I'm also teaching at our schools at the Istanbul University's Language Center. I'm
Hmm.
teaching English as a foreign language. Generally, I'm teaching general English to all levels. I have taught all levels in my 15 years career so far.
Wow. That sounds really, really great. And you mentioned drama group. Uh,
Yeah,
so I think we will be talking about them a bit later, right?
mainly yes.
Yes. So, I mean, in your teaching and your classes, which technology or online platforms do you generally use for your classes?
Okay. So what we do here at Istanbul University, starting from 2008, we had a project where we established Moodle. But
Hmm.
as the Moodle is getting older these days, we're trying to do some new technologies like Second Life. We are employing some 3D virtual learning environments
Hmm.
and
But
trying to
yeah.
combine Moodle with those.
Okay, because I mean, Moodle is something different
Exactly.
from virtual worlds, right? So
Exactly.
it's difficult to
But this is how we
compare.
started.
But
This is
that's
how we
very good.
started.
Very good to do this kind of combination, I think. Yeah, fantastic. Hmm. And have you got have you already got some experience with that, with a
Yes,
combination
exactly.
of both?
Yes, exactly. Sometimes when we are conducting a class, we are giving some homeworks which we want to keep recorded,
Hmm.
and then we are opening up a class on Moodle, and we
Hmm.
ask our students to send all their stuff on Moodle, and this is how and then grading and everything is done on Moodle
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
But this is, of course, not very interactive,
Hmm.
as this is all very stable, and we need Moodle only for
Hmm.
to keep the records of the
Yeah.
homeworks and time and everything, and the evaluation as well. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, and I saw that you started with Facebook as well, doing
Oh
some
yes,
training on Facebook. So what's your
exactly.
experience with that?
The Facebook I have been using for the last 5 years, I guess. Actually, before Facebook, I was doing a lot of blogging with my students just to teach them this technology of blogging, and
Mm-hmm.
I was opening up blogs for my classes, and then I was giving them homeworks, which were online generally, and then I asked them to compile all their information and basically homeworks as blog posts. This was
Okay.
how we started,
Mm-hmm.
but lately in the last 5 years, as Facebook has been very popular and among students as well, it's very easy to access, and I think it just overthrew the blogging thing, and you don't need to have a blog anymore. But when you have a Facebook page and then you share it with your students, and these students are contributing into this page, I mean, it just replaced. I mean, Facebook just replaced the blogging, and
That's interesting. Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
why we are
yeah.
using Facebook. I have many pages. The latest one and the most popular is this drama Machinima that we're using.
Yeah,
But
I've
even
seen
before
that.
that,
Yeah.
we had other pages. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I know you have been involved in teacher training, as you just said as well, and in teaching in virtual worlds as well for some time now. Could you explore a little when you got involved with virtual worlds and why?
Well, my story starts in at Syracuse University, United States, in New York. I had a class which was in the PhD uh, department of linguistics, and there we explored the new technologies. And it was 2005, I guess, and then it was the time when I learned about Second Life, and this was the time when I learned about the virtual worlds and how these could be used for education and in the language research. Like,
Hmm.
for example, what we did on Second Life was at that time in 2005. I guess it was we had a class on language, natural language processing class, where we looked how people are, where people we looked into Second Life and tried to see uh, how people were interacting first of all, and how the language was used. But that was back in 2004, and when I came back to Turkey and did my PhD mainly. After my PhD, I just realized that we also need to. Um, I guess it was back in 2008 when I went into Second Life uh, for uh, for good that time, and afterwards in 2012, I finally had the courage to uh, to apply for a grant and explore this area more with some colleagues of mine, like Ramazan and Irfan.
Hmm.
They were also very helpful with those projects. And in 2012, I guess, this is when we had the first um, grant, and where this is this was the time when we actually rented a place on EduNations and met Heike Philp
Hmm.
and met other people like yourselves and Carol as well, and Randall, who
Hmm.
were of great help to us and great inspiration. And we opened up two classes. I thought one of them, this class was mainly it was meeting two times, one face to face at school at Istanbul University and one on Second Life for 2 hours on Friday evenings. And it went all very well. And this gave us more courage to do more stuff on Second Life. Like we went into our rector's office, asked for an appointment, and we told him about Second Life and 3D virtual learning environments and everything. And he gave us more grants to be able to establish the SIM of Istanbul University, and we called it Istanbul University Virtual Campus now.
Hmm.
We've been doing many
You've been
things.
doing a lot, yeah, and you sound like you have been one of the pioneers of it all. But when you
Well,
said you started in Syracuse, was that with sound already? I thought sound was not there. Was that?
I think no. We just looked into the environment and we looked how people
Okay.
are interacting and this kind of stuff. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
because
So, which advantages does 3D environment have compared to learning a language in a physical classroom?
mhm.
What do you think? Could you
Well,
name some
the
scenarios that
the
are
main
difficult to realize in a physical world, or?
well in mainly what I find very easy in Second Life is the interaction with the students and the degree of because of this anonymity,
Ah, okay.
because of
Hmm.
this avatar presence, I find that the students are getting more motivation and are more motivated to speak. Uh, and I have such instances where in face-to-face classes I have never heard a student speaking, but when we were on Second Life, I see them interacting with others and also contributing to the class by contributing to the discussions. And I have
Mm-hmm.
physically asked that question. I mean, why is this? I mean, I've never heard your voice in the classroom in my classes, but then I'm hearing it now.
Mm-hmm.
And the feedback of my students to my questions was because when we are in the same class with 60 people, everybody looking at us, it's difficult to speak.
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel the pressure. But here, anonymously, just the avatar speaks, and that's why it's easier. So this is the first thing that I find very um, crucial, that the 3D virtual worlds are bringing into the education. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, in physical world, it's very expensive to have native speakers. It's very expensive to have people to talk to you. But then
Yeah.
on Second Life, it's freely and with voice and with chat and with everything. You can interact and you can have this real interaction with people. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the point that makes, I think, Second Life, where uh, this technology, 3D
Mm-hmm.
virtual learning environments technology, very crucial for learning, for language learning, because it really creates this establishment and and it's
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for students to be able to interact like in the real world, actually.
Yeah. And have you tried, you mentioned Second Life as virtual platform. Have you tried any other, like
To,
OpenSim or something like that?
to tell the truth, yes, I've been to OpenSim, but they are not all very different from each other because they all provide the same environment, they all provide the same services. Here, the point is not Second Life, of course, but the point is 3D virtual learning environments um, uh, context. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why, yes, I have been to Awedu. That's, I guess it was the I forgot their name because
Mm-hmm.
there's been some time. I forgot their name.
No worries.
Academic Worlds or
Mm-hmm.
Active Worlds. Yes, just
Active
remember
World,
that.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I've been to Active Worlds when it was I think in 2008 something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have explored some of them. Yes.
Okay. Right. I know you have been involved in making machinima for some time now.
Yeah.
So when did you first come across making or and using machinima for language teaching?
Okay. So first of all, my first encounter with the word machinima was through the project Camelot, and during the Camelot we we had some discussions about Second Life, about machinima, about how to use those machinima in the foreign language learning, so on and so forth, and I guess it was back in 2013, and as I learned this genre, and I really thought that it would be very very easy to implement that and to ask the teachers to create their own machinima and see, and when they have these materials, they'll be freed from the hands of the popular publishers. So in a way, it will. I thought that it will empower the language teachers, and yeah, it was in 2013, and again I also went into the Machinima just the free course. I mean that teaches really a lot of things to people, and I also was one of the students there, and I did my own Machinima in a team with people, and I learned lots of things from people like you, Carol, and I guess it was Marissa at that time, who also gave another talk on how to use Machinima for language learning, and Heike as well. So this is my background. I mean, it's again here on Second Life Education, Machinima, and all that
Hmm.
context.
So you have created your own machinima and have you used it in your classes?
To tell you the truth, I didn't use it for language learning, but because as I said, my job is to train teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
I use that to motivate my teachers, my student teachers. So because when I said if I can do it, you can do it,
Hmm.
type of thing. So unfortunately, I didn't have much time to I didn't have much time
Yeah.
to use it for language teaching and learning as well. But I have only one instance where I showed some of my machinima produced by my teachers in my foreign language general English course. That was upper intermediate class, and I asked them, what do you think about those machinima? And the first reaction I got was they were really moved by the movies.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
That's what I found, and that's the time. That was the time that I thought, well, that could work in the language classroom as well, because if those people, because all of my students at that time, when I said that time, it was just 2 or 3 months ago. I guess it was just before Christmas. Yes, it was just before Christmas that I showed, because this was the time when my machinima were ready, my students'
Mm-hmm.
machinima were ready for the class,
Mm-hmm.
and I showed it to my students, and they were, wow, it's really very nice movies. Wow, very and in the group of basically people learning English were all university students at that time, and I also had some journalism students who would be becoming journalists, and they said, "Wow, that was very good." As they said, the cinematography in the movies that were created for this language teaching was great. They thought they said, and another
Mm-hmm.
feedback was, I remember one of the machinima that my students used, and they tried to teach "I wish,"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the wish clause
Yeah.
in English, and then just my students, my general English students, they said, "Wow, it really very nicely reflects this idea of I wish and everything." So they thought that they said that they really made the connection between wish and the contextualization of the
Uh-huh.
movie of the machinima.
Well, yeah.
So that's the thing that I got so far, but didn't, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
extensively use them yet. But
But you
I'll have a
will,
chance
yeah.
of it.
And
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I mean, you have already motivated, as I could see, your teacher students to create their own machinima. And what will they be used for? I mean, I thought what the products I saw, they were really fantastic, so well done and inspiring, really, really great. So
Mm.
these are your
Well,
teacher students, right?
yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They will be teachers
Yeah.
next year
Mm-hmm.
because they were in the third grade. So when they graduate next year in I guess June, and
Yeah.
afterwards they'll be official teachers and they'll be teaching at schools. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're planning to do with those machinima that we created. Of course, first of all, we need to put all of them in one place so that everyone can see and use them. And
Mm-hmm.
we also, with those machinima, which we didn't yet share with everybody, just because we just put them on the YouTube, we are creating a website for those machinima. And the website's name is going to be teacherenima.com. So it's like teacher created
Mm-hmm.
machinima.com. And
Mm-hmm.
so we are also because my students, by creating the machinima, they didn't only create the machinima, but also they put those machinima in a context. When I say context, I'm talking about lesson plans.
Mm-hmm.
My students also, because they are learning about lesson plans as well, so they mingled these two information uh, with together, and then they created the lesson plans as well. And these lesson plans will be put available to everybody in the web page that we are preparing these days. Irfan is working on this project. So
That sounds great.
after we have it, we are planning to invite people to share their machinima there, free of charge. Any teacher can upload their machinima, or just they can give us the link
Mm-hmm.
of their machinima, but of course with a lesson plan. And when you have got the lesson plan, you can just you could know how to use that machinima, for what purposes you could use, and for what levels you could use these
Mm-hmm.
machinima. So this is the plan for now,
Really
but
great.
I'm sure in 2 or 3 weeks we will have the real products like we had
Very good.
the others.
And can you link this somehow to Camelot? I
Yes,
mean
exactly.
that
That's the point,
yeah.
because even in the Facebook, even in the even in the uh, YouTube group, the channel that we created, we said that we say that there that the the whole project, the whole concept
Hmm.
was inspired by the Camelot project because this is where when we learned, and this is how I learned all about this. And of course, I'll be linking this to
Good.
Camelot, and
Great.
the website will be serving for as a Camelot product, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Hmm.
And do you see a difference between using machinima videos created in a 3D world and real life videos? And if there are differences, what are they?
Hmm. Well, to me, as a person, and as a well, I should be humble in that, but as a person who's teaching language for 15 years and using videos and everything in this context, I would say that I really see no difference, and because it's the same thing. The aim of video production in the late 10, 20 years, because this is the time that video has become really very, very popular in language learning. Yeah, the technology thing, everything has evolved, and of course the concept of video should evolve. I mean, it's we all know that it's very difficult to create videos, real life videos for all the contexts that you think deserves teaching, right? And so, but these 3D virtual videos, like the Machinima, they are very easy to produce.
Hmm.
Now, I could tell you, I mean, I created around 20, not I created, but with my students, we created around 2021 Machinima, and it didn't cost us much.
Hmm.
Because when I look into the variety, when I look into the different topics that we came out with, and different things to teach in the area of foreign in the area of English teaching. When I look into that, I see that this is actually a very cheap way to do the things.
Hmm.
Another thing is, why do we use videos? We use videos in the classrooms because we want to show the relationship between the sound and the context. When I say sound, I mean language, right?
Hmm.
So as long as you contextualize the sound with the background visuals, and I think it doesn't matter. I mean, if it's machinima or a real life movie or whatever, and I think it's the same thing.
Okay, so you create them or think it's good to have machinima for cost reasons, and that you just can't
Definitely.
produce them out of the cuff, which is more difficult for real
That would be
videos,
very
right?
very difficult. And one more
Yeah.
thing,
Hmm.
these machinima look professional just because the visuals are professional.
Hmm.
However, when you're having videos, real life videos created by the people like my students, very amateur people, they wouldn't look as professional. Right now,
Hmm.
I'm seeing how the YouTube channel is doing and how people are watching all these, and the feedbacks that we are getting from some of our acquaintances around. They're saying, wow, they're very professional things, but
Hmm.
they are not because I know the background, I know how they were created. There was nothing professional behind this, but they all look, the final product looks professional. However, in the real life videos, I guess we couldn't have uh, this vision of professionality.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's why this is another
Yeah.
advantage as well, I
Okay.
guess.
Hmm. And did you or your students encounter any technical problems when engaging with 3D learning environments and making machinima?
Definitely, definitely. Lots of things, and they are visible from the Machinima productions that they did already. Like the sound problem was one of the first things because
Hmm.
most of the students didn't have their private place to do the shooting and everything. They had to come together in some internet houses or internet
Oh, yeah.
cafes where they had the sounds and everything around. But this is yes, so this was a big problem. No, problem number two was, of course, the environment. And to create the environment, uh, I know it very well because I helped during all that process, and I had to learn how to build things on Second Life, and lots of things. I mean, especially um, um, the avatars, how to choose the avatars, how to make them wear things, how to make them take things off, and so on and so forth. I mean, it was a for me as a person, perhaps because it was the only person who worked on this with on the technical aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, it had a lot of I had to do a lot of work. But one thing that I'm happy with is my students learned editing. They learned how to put voice, how to put the language, the subtitles, and stuff like this. And when I look into the outcome of all that, I think that even the technical aspect that I had to work a lot uh, towards, it pays off.
Yeah, well, and obviously you were successful as it shows, and I think,
Oh, that's fine.
I think the advantage is that the teacher students learn a lot of technical skills through the
Yes.
making of machinima, which they would not have dreamt of, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one point was this, because this was a drama class, we said that, okay, we are learning about uh, what happened 2,500 years ago in Greece, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
talk about Medea, we talk about Jason, we talk about Oedipus Rex, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then because this was like a survey class, we come into waiting for Godot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Samuel Beckett's, and this is very absurd and it's very postmodern thing. So I said, look at yourselves. I mean, if you don't learn these 21st century digital skills, I mean, it's called digital literacy now. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have it, and your students have it, so you'll be like those, archaic things. But then you don't want this. You want to keep up with your students. You want to keep up with technology. You don't want to be left behind just because
Mm-hmm.
you don't know them. And
Mm-hmm.
the time to learn all these is at school,
Yeah.
because later it's very painful to learn. I know it from myself because I have been learning everything myself, the 3D virtual environments, uh, I don't know, building everything, and it's really taking a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was wondering about the genre of machinima your student teachers prefer to use or to produce
Hmm.
for teaching, or
Okay,
you
when I
own.
when we first started, I asked them uh, to prepare their machinima and the storyboard and everything according to one rule, and that one rule was, um, you would remember this uh, globalization view. That's glocalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Mm-hmm.
is global and local. So,
Yeah.
so we know that you've got this local information, everybody, and my students, because they're from Turkish origin, they have the Turkish mind, they have the Turkish belief, and everything else. But then they're going to be English language teachers, which means that they're going to be serving the whole world, not only Turkish people. So when they were choosing their topics, when they were choosing their um, genres and everything, I said that you should be local, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was the only thing that I told them to be careful about, because when they first came with their scenarios, there were really lots of Turkish sides to them, and lots of Turkish perspectives that they were bringing into into their storyboards. But then I said, this is no good. First,
Mm-hmm.
because we are going to be shooting on Second Life, which means Second Life may not always provide things that you think are Turkish or are important, and so. But then this is a global place, because lots of people are getting into this environment, right? And so that was the only thing that we cared about. I mean, other than that, we didn't have a set um, topic or a set genre or a set thing. But
Okay.
in the end, what I find, the diversity of the things that they created, I find it very nice. And there was even one machinima that I didn't want to share yet, because I wanted my students to do some changes on it, because they were, I think it was cool. Uh, and the machinima was called Life, all right? But
Mm-hmm.
but of course, our perspective here is to show something that little children can even see, right? I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
it shouldn't be very aggressive or offensive, but there were smoking characters. There was a naked a picture, and so on and so forth. You see, I mean, we just had this uh, short changes in the
Okay.
context. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Hmm. And how important are mimic and gestures in a video for learning a language, do you think?
Well, so far in the Camelot, we have been talking a lot about this gesture and mimic and language thing. That's fine.
Hmm.
Uh, that's fine. The gestures and mimics are body language, which means they're helping the real language to proceed to make itself more understandable, and so on and so forth. But I find them minor in some sense,
Hmm.
because if you're shooting from very close, then they should matter. But if you're having two people, and the context is two old people talking, I mean, about what happened in the past, I mean, the mimics and everything are not that important, I believe. So because here the context is what they had in the past, and then it's not the face that's helping people to understand that. So it's the language itself. So I think there should be some balance between those thoughts. But still, anyway, of course they are important. But as I said, not always that distinguishing
Hmm.
important things.
Mm. Yeah, I totally agree. And do you think that cultural differences can be conveyed via machinima?
Yes, I think so.
And
Uh,
how?
all right, I want to give another example now when I'm talking about the culture and everything. Uh, uh, I am also directing right now, and we have almost finished. We are just waiting for the technical stuff to finish the editing thing, and we already have two of our machinima ready, of the five machinima that we are shooting for Camelot and for teaching Turkish, because we said, okay, we want to do something real good that could be used in a language class for real purpose, not like my students amateur thing, right? Because we have been learning about machinima, we have been learning about technical stuff and lots of things in a Camelot project. So we want to pay it back, right? We want to do something very well.
Hmm.
That's why we were really and in there we cared about that, the cultural differences. Like we had in our storyboard, we had a student from Germany, and then she was wearing some type of clothes, and when she comes to Turkey, because this is the context, she should have a little bit more modest clothing, right? And so,
Hmm.
for example, in the course of Machinima, in the first episode, she's wearing one thing, but on the second episode, she goes shopping and then she buys more modest clothes. I
Hmm.
mean, we didn't, of course, focused on that much, but it was like a subliminal message, like
Hmm.
where when you're in Turkey, you should be wearing more modest clothes. I'm not saying more conservative, but I'm
Yeah, I
saying more
understand.
modest.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yes,
Hmm.
of course. I mean, you through Machinima you can do that as well. No problem at all.
Hmm. Hmm. And which kind of machinima videos attract your students most, do you think?
Well, in the course of our study, when we were watching some examples of Machinima, of course, because of the professional background, uh, my students like mostly the language teaching Machinima. I mean, they
Hmm.
didn't, for example, go into the gaming Machinima. But on the other hand, my son, I mean, 6.5 years old, he likes these gaming Machinima a lot.
Hmm.
And this is the only thing that he watches. So I think in my case, yes, because of the professional perspective that my students have, they like more the language teaching machinima, like the second conditional. I remember, if I could fly, for
Yeah.
example, it was
Yeah.
a great huge hit among my students,
Oh, I
and
see.
they really liked that.
Hmm.
But as I said, my students, my son, on the other hand, he's having different kinds of taste. So I think it should depend on the people.
Hmm. And so it might change in the
Yeah.
future, right? And how can you determine that the use of machinima videos help students to learn better than without them?
Well, I really don't have the research with me that could tell me that this is much better. But what I would rely on right now is the the use of videos and how these videos are and the more effective in acquisition of the language. So as far as I know, and during the literature review, I have read some stuff about this that was telling us that uh, using not only sound but sound that's facilitated by the visuals helps retention of information more,
Mm-hmm.
which means that this should be the case with the machinima as well, as this is the very close genre, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
video and machinima.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And now, my last question: how do machinima videos add to the quality of language learning, do you think?
Well, I think I don't have research on this as well, but I would say that the quality should lie in in the process of producing the machinima, which
Mm-hmm.
means the students, if they produce their own machinima for language learning um, purposes, like in the task-based, let's say, approach, uh, I think that this brings quality because uh, since yesterday, when I put all some of their machinima on YouTube channel, I see how these students are proud of their work,
Mm-hmm.
sharing it with their peers and others in the faculty and other students in the faculty, and we are getting a lot of positive response and feedback from people. And I also shared this channel on other Facebook channels, like Facebook pages, like the I guess it was the English teachers in Turkey that has 15,000 teachers on their members on the page.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting lots of positive feedback from this, and this is how I think the quality issue could come into foreplay, because the students would be and are proud of what they have just achieved with all
Mm-hmm.
their, but it's a very small thing, let's say, but then people are always proud of the things that they create, and if they can create those kind of machinima for language purposes, in my case these language teachers, uh, this brings quality into your education as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
And I receive really very nice positive feedback from my students, thanking me all the time
Mm-hmm.
about the about that I made it possible for them to experience all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said a very important key word. That's the experience, and I think it's the experimental experience learning that enhances any learning. And now you're
Definitely,
teaching your teacher students for the future to teach that in their classes and have their students
definitely.
produce that and involve them, interact. And so I think that's really, really fantastic what
And
you've
like
done
you're
there.
saying, if you as a teacher don't know about it, how can you inflict this into your students?
Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
This is
It's all
so
learning
this
by
is
doing. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly, and this is also lifelong learning, because
Yeah.
once you learn one technology, then the other technology is easier to learn.
Hmm. Okay, so I've run out of questions. No, not really, but I could go on. But I thought it might be a nice idea, if you don't mind, if you could show us where you teach your students in um, in virtual
Yes,
worlds. See you there, and thank
sure,
you.
sure. Yes, I'll see you. Yes.
Would you like to show something, the university, or
Yes, of course. This gate here is the Istanbul University gate in the real life.
okay,
And so we wanted to create this sense of sameness on our sim.
okay,
So this is the gate that we say, and it's a motto in Turkey. You get into the higher education through this gate.
mm-hmm,
You see, you enter into the higher education or into the university through this gate. That's why
mm-hmm,
it's very special, this gate. That's why we had it in 3D in
mm-hmm,
our place.
Beautiful.
To the right, we have got this. We have got our. If you can fly with me.
Wow.
This is the fire tower. This building here, that's in front of me now, and this is the rectorate building. This is a real rectorate building of Istanbul University. And this outlay here, when we look from the gate to the tower and to the rectorate, is the same in our university. So yeah, so we wanted to create this sense of sameness, first of all, so that our students can can feel at home. They could feel at home here. So when they look into these, they would say, "Oh yes, this is our university," and you know that this is important.
Yeah,
Even
I can
if this
imagine.
is a new world, they still feel that they should
Something
have something,
recognizable.
and this also creates the motivation. And let's come to this building that we created for shooting our machinima. This house I created for my students because they said we need where we have got a rich family, and they used all of the in all their machinima they used this house. They used the car as as a prop in there. And if you look inside from this side, not from this side but this side, here is this rich house context continuing, and they would have some shooting in here and enter into the building. Yeah, exactly. I created this space here for them to be shooting, and in here we had one of the machinima shots exactly here. It was called the fortune teller, because if you see when you sit here. And you
Wonderful! That's really great.
The ball that tells the future thing.
Can you tell me my fortune then?
And you would have somebody else just listening. Yes, isn't it nice? I mean, and you can't do this in real world, right? I mean, it's difficult to have all the props and everything, but this is, I guess, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I was only responsible for setting up the environment, right? Not the content. Okay. So I really don't know. But I thought that when you sit here and you shoot, I mean, it's a very nice idea. And these are, and on this side here, we would have the again rich families. Room, this time the bedroom, and they did some shootings in here in one of their machinima, and here as well. That's a prison cell. If you want to, you could have a prison cell as well. So this was just for some of my students when they said, okay, we need this, we need that. I just created this environment for them. Lots of free space for them to do whatever they like.
Fantastic. Yeah, I remember this view with the waterfall in the vampire film, right?
Perhaps yes, but they also used other places. I mean, for the not only this environment. I think they used other environments as well, and I told them to ask for permission, and they said that they wrote to these people wherever they shot, and they got the permissions from them.
Yeah, that's important,
and
but that's good.
Here,
good that they did. It's also learning.
Exactly. I mean, it's all learning process, right? And we had this. I had this environment here because they were shooting this one of these talent shows. You would recognize, the talent shows. And I bought all this environment for them,
Yeah.
so they would just stand up here, and they would be somebody standing up here, and then somebody else would be doing the talent thing just across. So
Great.
I had
That's
other
fantastic.
places which I had
That's
to
really
replace,
fantastic.
I create a barnyard in one of these green spaces there, but I had to remove them where they shut their the villager kind of machinimas they would have, and this renders holodeck really helped us a lot as well. Perhaps you recognize it.
Yeah, he's got loads of
And
things
I
on it.
help
Yeah.
them that they can create whichever content they want, whichever environment they want, and they really did so. They created.
Yeah. And I mean, this is what you can do with your content here as well.
Exactly,
Put it in holodecks, right?
Of course, I first need to learn the holodeck thing, and for this I really didn't have time, and I just asked Randall.
Yeah, that looks really most impressive.
So
Okay,
thank you.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.